Before you scroll away, before another video steals your attention, pause for just one moment, because the story you're about to hear is not just entertainment, it's a reminder of why dreams matter. If at any point this story touches your heart, motivates you, or makes you believe again, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be shared with the world. On a quiet morning in a small coastal town in the Philippines, the sun rose over rusted tin roofs and narrow dirt roads, lighting up a place most people would never notice. In one of those houses lived a boy named Mateo. He was small for his age, thin, with worn-out slippers and eyes that carried both fear and hope. Every morning, while other children prepared for school with clean uniforms and full lunchboxes, Mateo helped his mother sell bananas by the roadside. His father had passed away years earlier, leaving behind debts, a broken family, and a boy who learned far too early what it meant to survive. Mateo's life was not easy. Some nights they slept with empty stomachs, and some days he went to school embarrassed because his shoes were torn and his classmates laughed. But there was one thing that never left him, his voice. When Mateo sang, it was as if the pain in his chest found a way out. He sang while walking to school, while helping his mother, while staring at the ocean late at night. Singing was not a dream for him, it was his escape. His mother first noticed it one evening when the power went out. In the darkness, Mateo began singing softly, an old Filipino song his father used to hum. His voice was fragile but powerful, filled with raw emotion. His mother sat there silently, tears running down her face, realizing for the first time that her son carried something special, something the world needed to hear. But talent alone doesn't change fate. Mateo had no money for vocal lessons, no connections, no fancy equipment. The only stage he knew was their small living room on the roadside where passing strangers sometimes stopped to listen. Some tossed coins, some smiled, others ignored him completely. Still, Mateo sang. One day, a neighbor showed them a video on a phone, America's Got Talent. Mateo watched contestants stand on a massive stage, lights shining, judges watching, audiences cheering. His heart raced. That night, for the first time, he said out loud, "Nene, what if I sing there someday?" His mother didn't laugh. She didn't promise either. She simply hugged him and said, "If God gave you this voice, maybe He has a plan." Months passed. Life remained difficult. Mateo nearly quit school to work full-time, but his mother refused to let his dreams die. Then, against all odds, they found out about AGT auditions in Manila. The trip alone cost more than they could afford. His mother sold her old phone, borrowed money, and prayed harder than she ever had before. The audition day was overwhelming. Thousands of people, loud noises, cameras everywhere. Mateo stood in line shaking, gripping his mother's hand. He felt small, invisible, surrounded by confidence he didn't have. When it was finally his turn, his legs trembled as he walked onto the stage. Cowell sat there with his familiar serious expression. Howie Mandel smiled politely. Sofia Vergara leaned forward curiously. Heidi Klum observed quietly. The crowd waited. "What's your name?" Simon asked. "Mateo," the boy replied softly. "Where are you from?" "Philippines, sir." "And why are you here?" Mateo swallowed hard. "Because singing is the only thing that makes me feel not poor." The audience went silent. The music started. Mateo closed his eyes and sang. His voice wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Every note carried his struggles, his hunger, his hope. He sang about loss, about faith, about dreaming beyond pain. Halfway through the song, people in the audience wiped their tears. By the final note, the entire theater stood. Simon didn't speak right away. He looked stunned. "I've heard thousands of singers," Simon finally said, his voice unusually soft. "But what you just did, that was real." Before anyone could react, Sophia slammed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained down. Mateo froze, unable to move, then broke down crying. His mother ran onto the stage, holding him tightly as the crowd cheered. That moment changed everything. But the journey wasn't over. Behind the scenes, Mateo struggled with pressure. He feared disappointing everyone.
Critics online questioned his background, accusing the show of using his poverty for sympathy. The hate hurt deeply. There were nights Mateo cried, asking his mother if he should quit. But she reminded him why he started to sing his truth. As the live shows began, Mateo grew stronger. His voice matured, his confidence slowly building. Every performance told a story. Every song healed a part of him. In the finals, Mateo sang an original song dedicated to his father. The theater fell silent once again. When he finished, even Simon stood up, clapping. Mateo didn't just win the competition, he won hearts across the world. After AGT, life changed. Mateo helped his family move into a small but safe home. He returned to his town, not as a star, but as a symbol of hope. He continued school. He continued singing. He never forgot where he came from. And the most powerful part? Mateo didn't become famous because he was poor. He became unforgettable because he was brave enough to dream anyway. Before you blink, before your finger moves to the next video, stay right here, because this is not just a story, it is a journey of pain, faith, and miracles. If at any moment your heart feels heavy, hopeful, or inspired, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring real, emotional stories like this to life, stories that remind us why dreams are worth fighting for. Mateo was born into silence, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that comes from struggle. In his small wooden house near the shoreline of a forgotten Filipino town, nights were filled with the sound of waves crashing and stomachs growling. His father, a fisherman, had once been the pillar of the family, leaving before dawn and returning with stories, songs, and sometimes fish. But one stormy night, the sea took him away, leaving behind a grieving wife and a 6-year-old boy who would never again hear his father sing him to sleep. From that day on, Mateo's childhood ended early. His mother worked tirelessly, selling fruit, cleaning houses, doing whatever she could to survive. Mateo followed her everywhere, carrying baskets heavier than his small arms should have held. School was a luxury, not a certainty. Some days he attended class hungry, his mind drifting, his ears ringing with the cruel laughter of classmates who didn't understand poverty because they had never tasted it. Yet even in pain, Mateo had music. When words failed him, songs spoke. He sang to the ocean, believing somehow his voice would reach his father. He sang while walking barefoot on dusty roads. He sang when life felt unbearable. Singing wasn't about applause, it was about survival. At night, under a leaking roof, Mateo practiced quietly so he wouldn't disturb neighbors. His mother would listen from the corner, pretending to sleep so he wouldn't feel shy. Every note he sang carried memories of his father's smile, of empty plates, of prayers whispered into darkness. One afternoon, while helping his mother sell bananas, a tourist stopped to listen. Moved by Mateo's voice, the stranger recorded a short video and promised to share it online. They never thought anything would come of it. But weeks later, a local community center reached out, encouraging Mateo to audition for a televised singing competition. That moment planted a seed that would change everything. America's Got Talent felt impossible, like a dream meant for other people. Mateo didn't even own a proper shirt. His mother stitched together the best clothes they had, washed them carefully, and prayed. The journey to Manila was long and exhausting. Mateo had never seen buildings so tall or crowds so large. Fear wrapped around his chest, but hope pushed him forward. During auditions, Mateo saw performers with confidence, backup dancers, expensive outfits. He almost turned back. He felt invisible. But then he remembered his father's words, "Sing like the world is listening, even if it's not." When his number was called, he stepped onto the stage with shaking legs and a pounding heart. The judges noticed his nervousness. Simon Cowell leaned forward, curious but reserved. When Mateo spoke about his life, about poverty, about singing being his escape, something shifted in the room. When he began to sing, time slowed. His voice wasn't polished, but it was pure. It cracked in places, not from weakness, but from emotion. People felt it. The audience felt it. The judges felt it. When the golden buzzer was pressed, Mateo thought he was dreaming. Golden confetti fell like blessings from the sky. He cried uncontrollably, overwhelmed by joy and disbelief. Before you even think about clicking away, before another sound or screen steals your attention, stay here, because this is not just a story you watch, it's a story you feel. And if at any moment your heart tightens, your eyes grow heavy, or your belief in dreams is restored, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your one click helps stories like this reach millions who need hope today. It was still dark when Mateo woke up. The kind of darkness that feels thick, heavy, and endless. The roof above him was patched with old plastic sheets, and every strong wind made it shake like it might collapse. He lay there quietly, listening to his mother's soft breathing beside him, knowing she had barely slept. Hunger was a familiar companion, it sat in his stomach like a stone. He didn't complain. He never did. Complaining didn't put food on the table. Mateo lived in a small fishing village in the Philippines, a place where dreams were whispered but rarely spoken aloud. The ocean stretched endlessly beyond the shore, beautiful yet cruel. It was the same ocean that had taken his father years ago during a storm that no fisherman could outrun. Mateo was 6 when it happened, old enough to remember his father's laughter, his rough hands, and the songs he used to hum while fixing nets. Young enough to still wait, sometimes, hoping his father might walk through the door again. After his father's death, life changed overnight. His mother aged faster than time itself. Her hands grew rough, her eyes tired. She worked wherever she could, cleaning houses, selling fruit, washing clothes for neighbors. Mateo followed her everywhere, carrying baskets that bruised his thin arms. Childhood games were replaced with responsibility. Toys were replaced with survival. School was both a blessing and a burden. Mateo loved learning, but going to school hungry was a different kind of pain. He wore the same faded uniform year after year, stitched and restitched by his mother's careful hands. Some classmates laughed at his worn shoes and quiet nature. Others ignored him. Teachers noticed his talent for singing during school programs, but talent meant little when you couldn't afford notebooks. Yet in all this hardship, Mateo had one secret weapon, his voice. He didn't know where it came from. Maybe from his father. Maybe from the prayers his mother whispered every night. But when Mateo sang, the world felt lighter. He sang while helping his mother, sang while walking barefoot on dusty roads, sang while staring at the ocean, imagining his voice riding the waves to wherever his father might be. At night, when the village grew quiet, Mateo would sit by the window and sing softly. He sang not to be heard, but because silence hurt too much. His mother listened from the corner of the room, pretending not to hear so he wouldn't feel shy. She cried quietly, afraid that loving his voice too much might give him dreams the world would crush. One evening, the power went out, as it often did. The house was swallowed by darkness. Mateo began singing an old Filipino song his father loved. His voice trembled at first, then grew steady, strong, emotional. His mother couldn't hold back anymore. She held him and cried, realizing that her son carried something extraordinary, not wealth, not privilege, but a gift. Still, gifts don't change reality overnight. There were days Mateo thought of quitting school to work full-time. There were nights he asked his mother why life had to be so hard. She never had perfect answers. She only said, "We keep going." One afternoon, while Mateo sang near the roadside as his mother sold bananas, a stranger stopped. He listened quietly, eyes closed. When Mateo finished, the man applauded and recorded a short video on his phone. He said, "The world needs to hear this." Mateo smiled politely, not really believing him. Weeks passed. Nothing happened. Then one day, a local community center reached out. The video had been shared. People noticed. They encouraged Mateo to audition for a major talent show. America's Got Talent. The words sounded unreal. Mateo laughed nervously. AGT was something he watched on borrowed phones, something for rich, confident people with perfect lives. Not for a poor boy with empty pockets and broken slippers. But his mother didn't laugh. She prayed. The idea grew slowly, painfully. Auditions were in Manila, far away. The travel cost alone was more than they earned in months. His mother sold her old phone,
borrowed money she didn't know how she'd repay, and trusted God with the rest. The journey was exhausting.
Mateo had never seen such big buildings, such crowds, such noise.
He felt small, invisible, afraid. At the audition venue, he stood in line with thousands of hopefuls, people with stylish clothes, confident smiles, supportive families.
Mateo clutched his mother's hand, fighting the urge to run away. He almost quit.
But then he remembered his father's voice, his mother's sacrifices, the nights he sang just to survive. When his number was called, his heart nearly jumped out of his chest.
The stage was blinding. Lights everywhere. Judges sitting high above him like giants. Simon Cowell's serious face made Mateo's hands shake. The audience waited. "What's your name?" Simon asked.
"Mateo," he replied softly.
"Where are you from?"
"The Philippines."
"And why are you here?"
Mateo swallowed.
"Because singing is the only thing that makes me feel strong."
The room fell silent. When the music started, Mateo closed his eyes. He sang like he always had, honestly, painfully, fearlessly. His voice cracked in places, but every crack carried truth. He sang about loss, hunger, hope, faith. He sang with everything he had.
People cried. By the final note, the audience rose to their feet.
The judges were stunned.
Simon didn't speak immediately. He looked thoughtful, emotional.
That, Simon said quietly, was unforgettable. Then Sophia slammed the golden buzzer.
Golden confetti exploded from above. Mateo froze. He thought he was dreaming.
Then he cried harder than he ever had in his life. His mother ran onto the stage, holding him as the crowd roared. For the first time, Mateo felt like the world was listening.
But success didn't erase fear.
When the episode aired, Mateo became an overnight sensation. Messages of love flooded in from around the world.
But so did criticism. People accused the show of exploiting poverty.
Others said Mateo wouldn't survive the competition.
Online comments cut deep. Mateo read them late at night, questioning his worth.
The pressure increased. Vocal coaches pushed him.
Schedules were intense. Cameras followed his every move. He missed home.
He missed singing without expectations. Before one live show, Mateo broke down backstage. He told his mother he felt like he was drowning. She held his face and said, "You don't owe anyone perfection. You owe yourself honesty." That night, Mateo sang with renewed strength. Each performance showed growth not just in voice, but in confidence. He sang for children like him, watching from small villages, believing maybe their voices mattered too. He sang for his father. He sang for his mother. In the semifinals, he dedicated a song to his mother.
The lyrics spoke of sacrifice, sleepless nights, unconditional love. The audience cried.
The judges praised him not just as a singer, but as a storyteller.
The finals arrived. Millions watched.
Mateo walked onto the stage, no longer the frightened boy from the roadside, but still carrying his humble heart. He sang an original song, his story in music. Every word came from lived pain and lived hope. When he finished, silence filled the theater. Then thunderous applause.
Simon stood.
"Mateo," he said, "you remind the world why dreams exist."
When the winner was announced, Mateo collapsed to his knees. He had done it.
Not just for himself, but for every child who had ever been told their dreams were impossible. After AGT, Mateo's life changed, but he didn't forget who he was.
He helped his family move into a safe home. He returned to school. He supported his community. He continued singing, not for fame, but for purpose. Mateo learned that success doesn't erase hardship, it transforms it.
That pain can become power. That the quietest voices can echo across the world. And now, as you reach the end of this story, remember this: somewhere right now, a child is singing in the dark, believing no one is listening.
But you are.
And by liking this video and subscribing to the channel, you help make sure those voices are heard.
Dreams don't belong only to the lucky. They belong to the brave.